Hi, welcome to Couples Create Cashflow, a channel that's devoted to helping couples grow their personal finances, get out of debt, and have a life they love. We are really focusing in on something that I call cash flow investing. We're looking at how do you create recurring monthly revenue from investments that you can make in the community or in the world at large. How do you create more monthly income to be able to hit your financial goals faster? Now, one of the things that I want to just start off by saying is that this channel, even though I am very passionate about finances, is not a replacement for talking to a professional in the field of finances. I am a mental health therapist by trade, and I work with a lot of couples in helping them to manage their relationships. And a lot of times, money is one of those topics that comes up. And so when I come to the topic of personal finances, oftentimes it's coming from this lens of my own experience managing my money, but also as a therapist helping couples manage the conflicts that come up from money as well. Um, I don't know if you know this, but money problems are the second leading cause of divorce in America. And many couples struggle with how to talk clearly and openly with each other about the money goals that they have and their budget items. A lot of times it's a weekly or monthly struggle to get one person to spend less and the other person wants them to save. And sometimes what ends up happening is you have two people who care a lot about the future that see different approaches on how to get there financially. And so, one of the goals of this channel is to give you some real life tips to work with communicating with your spouse better on how the money goals or the finances should be operated. I will bring to you, as a couples therapist, some of the best strategies that I have for improving your ability to connect with each other and communicate openly and honestly and really get past the talk about the nitty gritty, what went right, what went wrong in your budget last month, and really focus in more on what is your goal as a couple or as a family for where you want your finances to take you in the future and build your lifestyle around that goal. So if you want to get to this place where money is less of a struggle, if you don't want it to stress you out as much, if you want to be able to take those vacations or be gone for a month at a time in a place that's far away from your current home, if you want to have the ability to save for your kids' future, if you want to be able to invest in something that will pay you back monthly and give you a sense of security, those things are really important to talk about and to be on the same page on as a couple. And so this channel is really going to look at finances from the perspective of how do you manage money as a team. I will also be bringing a few other things to the table that I find to be kind of unique. So the next thing would be I look at finances from the perspective of a husband, a father, a therapist, a business owner, an investor, and a teacher. So I have a lot of different hats I can wear when I talk about money. So one of the ways I'll talk about money is how I've used these different strategies to do well in my own finances and to learn about investing. I did not grow up from a home that talked about investing money. So I've had to learn a lot of what I know about money in the last 5 to 6 years of my life as I've really delved into some of these bigger topics. One of the things I talk about a lot is how to invest in real estate. Real estate is something that creates monthly cash flow so that if you are able to feel confident about your skills in investing in real estate and you can develop good habits of saving capital and have money to invest, you can turn that capital into monthly income. Even if it starts out by being $100 or $200 a month from one rental property, If you can multiply that and get 15, 20 different rental properties going that each give you $100 a month or $200 a month, you start to see how your job that you work full time could end up being optional. If nothing else, you can use that money from your assets to live a lifestyle that's better than the one you're living right now. You could have that security and that thought process of, well, what do I do to make my dreams come true? Not just what do I do to make sure I pay all my bills this month. So really we're about how do you go from living paycheck to paycheck to living an abundant life where you're making wise decisions with your money. You're working together as a couple to be able to see the future goals together and then move towards those goals with purpose and focus. And so, how you get there is part of the journey. Where you want to go is completely up to you. I'll bring some skills and some tips to you as a therapist and as someone who's kind of a financial nerd to kind of show you some of the best tips and tricks that I've learned to manage money. But really, from this perspective of not how do you create this large nest egg to live off of and hope it lasts long enough and hope the market doesn't plummet right when you want to retire, or hopefully that money can pay for unexpected things that could come up when you're getting older, or you know maybe that nest egg is just barely big enough to not work anymore, but it's not really big enough to live a fun, exciting lifestyle. So I look at it less of that accumulation model and more of the idea of creating recurring revenue. So I think I mentioned that already. But to summarize, we're looking at couples, we're looking at cash flow. We are also looking at some very unique strategies in how to accomplish your goals. So here are a couple strategies. One of them is velocity banking. That is using a HELOC to tap into the lazy equity of your home and really give you some capital to work with if you're looking at investing into real estate, or if you have a strategy like dividend investing that you want to tap into, or even just pay off the rest of your house, pay off your monthly payment that you have to the bank, and put your loan balance into a HELOC where as you pay it down, you have less and less interest. You have more access to capital because as you pay it down, you actually increase the amount available to spend. So that's one way of doing that, or one topic to talk about. Another topic that I really enjoy is real estate investing. So I'm really going to get into how do you study deals, what do you look for on a market, what types of things do you want to look for when you're going to rehab a property, and really focusing in on David Green's BRRRR method, BRRRR, which is buy, rent, rehab, refinance, and repeat. So that's one of the main things. And then the last thing that I really have gotten into the last year or two is called infinite banking, and that's where you tap into your equity of your human life value. So if you think about all the income you're going to produce between now and when you die, there's a lot of value there. And so the way you tap into that equity is by getting a whole life insurance policy through a mutual insurance company where you become an owner of that company when you buy your policy, and you contract with that company to have guaranteed outputs that are not just about a death benefit, but are also about a cash value and equity that builds up in your account. So think of the It's a Wonderful Life movie with George Bailey. He taps into, or he offers to tap into the equity in his life insurance policy when he's up against a financial crisis with Mr. Potter. Now, Mr. Potter tells him, "You're worth more dead than alive." That's why he wants to jump off the bridge. So, whole life insurance has been around for a really long time. We'll jump into that in a couple other videos. But if you're interested in that, the book to start reading is Becoming Your Own Banker by Nelson Nash. And it's a really easy read. It's 90 something pages and really get a good picture of what you want to do with that method. So I'll get into that in a little bit as well. That's more of a higher complexity type of strategy. So, kind of at the base level, we're looking at how do you communicate with each other? How do you make cash flow happen? So, how do you have money left over each month? And then when you do, what are you going to do with that money you have left over? So that's your cash flow. What are you going to apply your cash flow to? So you can either try to reduce your monthly expenses by paying off debts, or you can try to increase your income by either going into business somewhere, creating or buying an asset that produces cash flow. So looking at what you can do once you have the cash flow to create more cash flow. So it can kind of have a stacking effect where, let's say I start off with $500 a month of cash flow. If I save that each month, I'm starting to accumulate some cash so that by the end of the year, I would have $6,000. Well, maybe $6,000 is not enough to get me into a rental house, but maybe $6,000 gets me into a partnership with someone that has more money than me. Maybe it allows me to buy into a stock that drops in value that does produce a dividend every quarter. So perhaps maybe I can access that company's earnings, or maybe I put my money somewhere like a mutual fund or an index fund that is just going to track the movement of the stock market with a lot of different companies. Or maybe I put it in a money market account so I don't have any loss of the equity in my capital that I've gained. So we're looking at, once you've kind of stored up an amount of money, then deploy it and buy an asset. And an asset, as defined by Robert Kiyosaki in one of my favorite books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is anything that you buy that has value, but also puts money into your pocket. So it's not just, um, putting money into Bitcoin necessarily. Now, some people can use Bitcoin as an asset where they stake their Bitcoin and people, like a third party will basically lock up that Bitcoin and use it as a lending tool, and then give the owner back some passive income. But really, what we're looking at is how do you put your cash that you've created through your cash flow, your good spending habits, your good income making habits, and deploy it into an asset that's going to create money for you in a recurring sort of way. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, the main vision for this channel. I'm going to be doing weekly live streams on Mondays between 1 and 2 o'clock. And so that's going to be an opportunity to see those new content items pop up. I'm also going to be creating a course at some point that really focuses in on velocity banking in particular, because I feel like that tool in itself is really going to launch you into a much better financial situation. And then at some point, probably looking at how do you incorporate the couples communication and just how do you stay emotionally connected and focused in on your goals as a couple as well. So I'll probably do some videos on that. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching this video and getting all the way to the end. If you check the description below, I'm going to link to an ebook that I wrote called Master the 5 Currencies. And this is kind of the secrets of the ultra rich. These are the people that go out there and they're not just focused on how much money is in their 401k. They're looking at a broader picture of what their finances look like, but not just the money. Also, what do the relationships in their life look like? What's the tax impact of what they're doing? What is the debt to asset ratio in their world? How do you use debt as a tool instead of feeling like debt is a crutch or a ball and chain that you're trying to get away from? If you listen to like the Dave Ramsey show, he's going to talk about debt being something to avoid and to get rid of. But it seems like some of the wealthiest people in the world use loans and lending and borrowing money to buy assets that pay back that loan as leverage, so that by having higher amounts of loans and debt through the lending practices, they can actually create more cash flow. They can create more opportunities and have control more assets. So we're really looking at how do the richest people who have figured this out, how do they manage their finances? Not just what's the vanilla, personal finance advice that's out there from people that just want you to get past the point of spending more than you make. I'm looking at how do we get you past, okay, now we're not living to paycheck anymore. How do we accelerate and really explode the cash flow that's available to us by putting that money to work instead of just letting it sit somewhere and doing nothing? So, thank you very much. Check out that link in the description below for your access to the free ebook. Be happy to give it to you. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more.